First contact fallacy. The Concordium had ruled the known galaxy for nearly 5,000 cycles. A coalition of 17 advanced species, they had spread their influence across 3 spiral arms, bringing countless worlds under their dominion. Some planets submitted willingly, enchanted by promises of technological advancement and protection. Others required more persuasive measures, orbital bombardments, climate manipulation, or in extreme cases, targeted extinction events that left infrastructure intact but troublesome populations eliminated. From the crystalline spires of Axelon Prime, the Concordium Council surveyed their domain with the calm assurance of unquestioned power. High Chancellor Zevnar, a towering Ixalan with iridescent scales and 6 manipulator appendages, studied the holographic projection of a small blue-green planet in an unremarkable yellow star system. Earth, Zevnar pronounced, the translator implant converting the series of clicks and whistles into standard Concordium speech. Discovered during our expansion into Sector 9, primitive industrialized species only achieved basic space travel within their own system. Technological assessment places them at development stage 3.7. Counselor Mithran, a gelatinous Forde whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, rippled with amusement. Not even worth a formal subjugation protocol. Send an administrative fleet to establish dominance and begin resource extraction. The humans have rejected our initial diplomatic overture, noted Strategic Director Krell, a hulking Braxian warrior whose exoskeleton bore the distinctive scars of 100 conquest campaigns. They wish to remain independent. The council chamber filled with sounds of derision from multiple species. Chancellor Zevnar raised an appendage for silence. Such primitive species often harbor delusions of sovereignty. Send Emissary Fleet 12 to demonstrate our technological superiority. Standard subjugation protocols. No need for excessive force. These humans will understand their place quickly enough. 3 standard cycles later, the Council reconvened in emergency session. The holographic display showed only static where Emissary Fleet 12's transmission should have appeared. Impossible, Krell growled, his armor plates clicking in agitation. 30 vessels, over 6,000 personnel. The humans have no orbital defenses, no significant space force, no technology that could challenge even our scout ships. Chancellor Zevanar's scales darkened with concern, yet Emissary Fleet 12 has vanished. No distress signals, no wreckage detected. Simply gone. The council erupted in confused debate until Zevanar silenced them with a thunderous slam of appendages against the crystal table. This requires proper attention. Prepare subjugation Fleet Theta. Commander Vorthal will lead personally. Commander Vorthal was a legend among the Concordium military. A Nexian tactician whose neural network could process battle scenarios with uncanny precision. He had never failed in a conquest mission. His flagship, the Inevitable Conclusion, was a Planet Killer-class vessel nearly 12 kilometers long, accompanied by a fleet of 200 warships and over 50,000 soldiers, drawn from the Concordium's most fearsome warrior species. As Subjugation Fleet Theta entered Earth's solar system, Vorthal studied the sensor readings with growing puzzlement. His 14 sensory stalks twitched in confusion. No defensive grid, he noted to his executive officer. No significant orbital installations. Their primitive satellite network doesn't even have basic shielding. Their military vessels are confined to their planet's surface, burning chemical propellants for thrust. The executive officer, a Draclid whose chidinous face remained expressionless, responded, perhaps Emissary Fleet 12 experienced a navigation error or drive malfunction. Perhaps, Vorthal replied, though his neural network calculated the probability of such coincidence at less than 0.003%. Maintain formation as we approach the 4th planet. We will establish command presence at Mars before proceeding to Earth itself. The fleet decelerated as it reached Mars orbit, preparing to deploy surface forces to establish a forward base. Vorthal observed the rust-colored planet, noting the small human research outposts scattered across its surface. primitive structures, barely more than pressurized containers with minimal life support. His sensor officer suddenly stiffened. "Commander, I'm detecting anomalous energy fluctuations throughout the fleet. Communication systems experiencing interference. Navigation systems reporting." The officer never finished the sentence. Throughout Subjugation Fleet Theta, ships suddenly lost power. Propulsion systems, weapons arrays, life support, all systems simultaneously deactivated. The massive vessels hung in space, dead and vulnerable. On the inevitable conclusions bridge, emergency lighting cast eerie shadows as Vorthal frantically accessed backup systems, finding them unresponsive. Through viewport portals, he watched in horror as small, sleek vessels emerged from concealed positions around Mars. The ships were unlike any human technology his intelligence reports had documented. No visible propulsion systems, no external weapons mounts, just smooth, dark hulls that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Within minutes, these mysterious vessels had attached themselves to the disabled Concordium ships. Vorthal heard the unmistakable sound of hull breaches, then silence. When the bridge doors slid open, he expected to see his security team. Instead, figures in form-fitting armor entered with weapons unlike any he had encountered. No visible power sources, no ammunition feeds, just sleek, silent efficiency. The human soldiers moved with practiced precision, subduing the bridge crew without a single shot fired. Their leader approached Vorthal, helmet depolarizing, to reveal a face that looked surprisingly similar to several Concordium species. Bilateral symmetry, forward-facing eyes, recognizable sensory and communication organs. "Commander Vorthal," the human said in perfect Concordium standard speech. "My name is Captain Maya Chen, Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is now under our control." "Impossible," Vorthal whispered, his neural network struggling to process this outcome. "You're a pre-spacefaring civilization. Development stage 3.7. The human made a sound that Vorthal's translator identified as laughter. "Your intelligence is outdated. We've maintained that facade deliberately. We've been watching the Concordium for decades, studying your technology, your tactics. We chose to remain isolated not from weakness, but from caution." "The emissary fleet?" Vorthal asked. "Safe, contained, being studied. Your personnel have not been harmed." As Vorthal struggled to comprehend this reversal, Captain Chen activated a communication device on her wrist. "Field Commander Authorization, Chen Alpha 7. Initiate broadcast on all Concordium channels." Throughout Concordium space, on countless worlds and vessels, communication systems suddenly activated without authorization. Military channels, civilian networks, even the secure council frequency, all displayed the same image. A human soldier standing on what was recognizably the command deck of a Concordium vessel. The soldier wore battle-scarred armor, dried blood visible on one cheek. Behind him stood other humans, some in similar armor, others in what appeared to be adapted Concordium technology. The soldier looked directly into the transmission device, eyes cold and determined. "Concordium leaders," he began, his voice translated simultaneously into all 17 official Concordium languages. "You sent your best forces to subjugate us. That was your first mistake." He gestured to the captured bridge around him. "Your ships are now ours. Your weapons are now ours. Your technology is now ours to adapt and improve upon. And do you know what the most interesting part is?" The soldier leaned closer to the transmission device, his expression intensifying. "We're just the scouts, the reconnaissance team, the preliminary force." His lips curved into what Vorthal recognized as a predatory expression. "The real army hasn't even arrived yet." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the Concordium in stunned silence. On countless worlds, fear began to spread. Not the fear of conquest. The Concordium had never known that. But something more primal. The fear of the unknown. The fear of having gravely, catastrophically underestimated an opponent. In the council chamber on Axelon Prime, Chancellor Zevnar stared at the now-blank holographic projector. For the first time in the Chancellor's 300-cycle lifespan, uncertainty took root. "Impossible," whispered Counselor Mithran, bioluminescent patterns flashing in distress. Strategic Director Krell's exoskeleton creaked as he leaned forward. "Chancellor, we must mobilize the Grand Armada immediately." These humans, Zevnar interrupted, scales now a deep, troubled violet, have accomplished something no species has done in 5,000 cycles. They have surprised the Concordium. The ancient chamber, which had witnessed the planning of 1,000 conquests, fell silent except for the soft hum of the holographic projector, still searching fruitlessly for a signal from the now-captured fleet. Deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, in a command center carved from the planet's crust, Admiral Elena Harper watched the aftermath of the Mars operation with grim satisfaction. Next to her, General Wei Zhong studied tactical displays showing the successful capture of all Concordium vessels. "The message has been delivered," Harper noted. "Phase 1 complete." Zhong nodded slowly. "And now they'll come in force." "Let them come," Harper replied, turning to the massive strategic display that showed Earth's true defensive capabilities. Orbital platforms disguised as debris, weapon systems hidden beneath natural satellites, fleets concealed in underground and underwater bases. Humanity has been preparing for this moment since we first detected their signals 50 years ago. She activated the Global Command Channel. "All forces, Initialization Protocol Sierra. Wake the sleepers. Activate all defense grids." Her voice carried not just authority, but absolute conviction. The Concordium wanted a war. Now they'll get one. Throughout Earth and its solar system, hidden installations hummed to life. In cryogenic chambers, enhanced soldiers began to stir. In secure hangars, vessels bearing technologies the Concordium could barely comprehend prepared for launch. Earth had been playing the long game, waiting, watching, learning. The real army was awakening. The awakening storm. On Axelon Prime, the Concordium Grand Council chamber had never witnessed such chaos. Representatives of all 17 species shouted over one another, threat displays triggering instinctively among the more aggressive members. The holographic projections surrounding them showed fleets mobilizing throughout Concordium space, the largest military gathering in 2,000 cycles. Chancellor Zevanar's scales had settled into a grim gray shade as he reviewed the intelligence reports. "We have lost all contact with Subjugation Fleet Theta. 200 vessels, 50,000 personnel. The greatest fighting force in this sector, gone without firing a single shot." Strategic Director Krell slammed a massive limb against the crystal table, fracturing its surface. "This humiliation cannot stand. I propose immediate deployment of the Grand Armada. We will reduce this Earth to its component atoms." "And if they are expecting that response?" asked Science Counselor Telavos, a synthie whose cybernetic enhancements hummed softly as she processed probability matrices. "If a primitive species could neutralize our forces so efficiently, we must consider that our intelligence on their capabilities is catastrophically flawed." High Chancellor Zevnar raised 4 limbs for silence. "We have no choice but to respond with overwhelming force. The Concordium cannot allow any species to challenge our dominion. Prepare the Grand Armada. I will lead personally." As the council session ended, Telavos approached the Chancellor privately. "The human's transmission disturbs me, Chancellor. The psychological component was precisely calculated. The real army hasn't even arrived yet. This phrase was designed to create uncertainty, to make us question our assumptions." "Your point, Counselor. What if it's true?" Beneath Earth's Atlantic Ocean, 30 kilometers below the surface in a facility carved from the abyssal bedrock, Admiral Elena Harper addressed the Combined Earth Defense Command. The amphitheater held military leaders from every nation, scientists, strategists, and representatives of the special divisions that had been Earth's most closely guarded secret. The Concordium responded exactly as predicted, Harper stated, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display showing enemy fleet movements. Grand Armada mobilization is underway. Estimated arrival in Earth space, 72 hours. General Weizhong stood, his augmented left eye glowing faintly as he accessed tactical data. Phase 1 exceeded expectations. All captured Concordium technology has been analyzed and integrated where useful. Phase 2 preparations are at 96% readiness. The holographic display shifted to show Earth's true defensive capabilities. Hidden weapon platforms disguised as asteroids throughout the solar system. Massive launch facilities beneath the lunar surface. Fleet bases hidden under Earth's oceans and within hollowed-out mountains. The orbital shield grid, disguised as communications satellites and space debris. And most importantly, the soldiers, thousands of enhanced humans awakened from cryostasis. The Phantom Division, Earth's elite force trained specifically for warfare against technologically superior opponents. They had been training in simulation for decades, fighting virtual versions of the Concordium over and over, perfecting strategies against an enemy that never knew they existed. For 50 years, we've maintained the facade of a developing civilization, Harper continued. We detected their scout ships 2 decades before they officially discovered us. We intercepted their communications, learned their languages, studied their technology from afar. While they saw us as primitive, we were preparing. She turned to the assembly, her voice resonating with quiet intensity. They expect a primitive resistance. They'll find something else entirely. The Concordium Grand Armada emerged from faster-than-light transit at the edge of Earth's solar system. 5,000 warships, 1,000,000 warriors drawn from the most fearsome species in the coalition. At their center, the Sovereign Dominion, a vessel that dwarfed even Commander Vorthal's captured flagship. 30 kilometers of advanced weaponry, neural-linked command systems, and planet-killing capability. On its command deck, Chancellor Zevnar surveyed the tactical display with cold satisfaction. No sign of human defensive positions. They've retreated to their homeworld. Chancellor, reported the sensor officer, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from several of the system's natural satellites and asteroids. Possible concealed installations. Expected, Krell growled, his battle armor gleaming under the command deck lights. They revealed their deception at Mars. They will not surprise us again. The Chancellor's mandibles clicked in agreement. Proceed with standard conquest formation. Target their artificial satellites first, then orbital infrastructure. We will isolate their planet before the ground assault. The massive Armada advanced methodically toward Earth, weapon systems charging. As they approached Mars orbit, where the previous fleet had been captured, they maintained heightened alert, scanning for the telltale signs of the technology that had disabled Vorthal's ships. Nothing happened. No ambush, no sudden power failures. The fleet passed Mars without incident. Their tactics have changed, Zevnar observed. Perhaps their capabilities at Mars were limited, a prepared trap rather than mobile technology. Strategic Director Krell looked unconvinced. Or they want us closer. As the Armada approached Earth orbit, they began targeting the planet's primitive satellite network. Concordium gunships fired precision energy beams, vaporizing what appeared to be crude communications and observation platforms. Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. Energy surge, cried the sensor officer. Massive power signatures activating throughout the system. What the Concordium had thought were simple satellites transformed before their eyes. Panels shifted, revealing advanced weapon systems. The debris field orbiting Earth reorganized itself into a cohesive defense grid. On the dark side of Earth's moon, massive hangar doors slid open, revealing launch bays extending deep beneath the lunar surface. And from Earth itself, rising from oceans and mountain ranges, emerged vessels unlike anything in Concordium records. Sleek, angular ships with no visible propulsion systems, hulls composed of materials that absorbed scanner waves rather than reflecting them. Impossible, whispered Chancellor Zevnar. Their technology, it's beyond development stage 3.7. It's beyond anything in our classification system. On the command ship's main communication channel, a transmission activated without authorization. A human face appeared. A woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that reflected decades of preparation for this moment. Concordium leadership. Admiral Harper stated calmly, "I am Admiral Elena Harper of the Earth Defense Force. You were warned. The scouts at Mars showed you a fraction of our capability, yet you chose escalation. Now you face humanity's true defenses." Her expression remained neutral, but her voice carried absolute conviction. "We studied you for decades while you dismissed us as primitives. We reversed engineered your technology from intercepted transmissions and abandoned equipment. We prepared for this conflict while you conquered weaker species." Harper's eyes narrowed slightly. "You thought the forces at Mars were our army. They were our forward scouts. Now you face our defenders, and even they are just the beginning." The transmission ended, replaced immediately by tactical alerts as Earth's defense systems activated simultaneously. The orbital shield grid engaged, creating an energy barrier around the planet that rippled with iridescent power. From the lunar launch bays, thousands of smaller craft emerged, moving with impossible speed and coordination. Evasive maneuvers. Chancellor Zevanar commanded. All ships, full defensive protocols. The Concordium Armada scattered, attempting to regroup into defensive formations. But Earth's forces moved with uncanny precision, as if anticipating every standard Concordium tactic. Because they had been. For decades, Earth's military had studied Concordium battle protocols, developed countermeasures for every standard formation and response. Human vessels targeted the Armada's command and control ships first, using directed energy weapons that bypassed Concordium shields by operating on frequencies the aliens had never needed to defend against. Smaller craft executed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics, appearing to blink in and out of conventional space as they avoided Concordium return fire. From hidden bases throughout the solar system, missile platforms emerged, launching projectiles with unusual propulsion signatures. The Concordium point defense systems failed to track them properly. The missiles appeared to shift trajectory in ways that violated normal space-time laws. Strategic Director Krell watched in growing horror as the casualty reports flooded in. 300 ships destroyed in the first wave, 700 more heavily damaged, and the Concordium had yet to inflict significant losses on the human fleet. "Chancellor," he growled, "we must regroup. This is not a primitive resistance. Their technology rivals or exceeds our own in several domains." Chancellor Zevanar's scales had darkened to nearly black, a sign of extreme stress in his species. How could they have developed such capabilities in isolation? The technological progression makes no sense. Science Counselor Telavos, who had insisted on joining the expedition despite the danger, studied the sensor readings with growing fascination. Their propulsion technology appears to manipulate space-time itself, rather than pushing against it. Their energy weapons operate on principles we've theorized but never successfully implemented. Chancellor, I believe we are witnessing convergent evolution. They developed along a completely different technological path than our species. A massive impact rocked the sovereign dominion, throwing several officers from their positions. Damage reports cascaded across command interfaces. "Our shields are failing," reported the defensive systems officer. "Unknown weapon type. It seems to propagate through our shield harmonics rather than attempting to overpower them." Another transmission forced its way onto their screens. This time it showed a human soldier in what appeared to be enhanced battle armor, standing on what was clearly a Concordium vessel's command deck. "Your flagship has been targeted," the soldier stated flatly. "You have 5 minutes to surrender or be destroyed. This will be your only warning." The transmission ended, replaced by a countdown timer. Chancellor Zevnar turned to his advisors, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. Options. Strategic Director Krell's exoskeleton creaked as he straightened to his full height. "We fight to the last warrior. The Concordium does not surrender." Science counselor Telavos countered immediately. We are facing a species with technology we don't fully understand, Chancellor. This isn't about victory anymore. It's about survival. The Concordium must adapt to this new reality. The Chancellor stared at the tactical display, watching as hundreds more Concordium ships reported critical damage or complete systems failure. The human vessels moved with impossible coordination, as if guided by a single mind. "Signal our surrender," he finally ordered, his voice barely audible. "All ships, cease fire immediately." As the command transmitted throughout the remaining Concordium forces, the human vessels suddenly halted their attack. The field of battle fell eerily silent, damaged Concordium ships drifting amid the wreckage of their destroyed companions. Admiral Harper's face appeared once more on their screens. "Your surrender is acknowledged. Preparation for boarding parties is underway. Your personnel will not be harmed if they cooperate." Chancellor Zevnar found his voice again. "Why? Why reveal yourselves now? If you possessed such technology, you could have joined the galactic community as equals." Harper's expression remained calm, but her eyes held ancient wisdom. "We observed how the Concordium treats equals: subjugation, resource extraction, cultural assimilation. Humanity chose isolation until we understood the true nature of the galaxy we would be entering." Her gaze intensified. "And now that we have revealed ourselves, know this: Earth does not seek conquest. We want security, autonomy, and the freedom to develop without interference. The age of the Concordium's unchallenged dominion is over." The transmission ended. Throughout the Concordium Grand Armada, boarding craft attached to damaged vessels, human soldiers entered efficiently, securing critical systems and personnel. On the Sovereign Dominion, Chancellor Zevnar and his advisors were escorted to a secure conference room. There they met not with military personnel, but with a human diplomatic team. "Chancellor," began the lead diplomat, a woman named Dr. Layla Sharma, "today marks the beginning of a new relationship between humanity and the Concordium, not as conqueror and conquered, but as entities recognizing each other's sovereignty and power." She activated a holographic display showing a proposed treaty, terms for prisoner exchange, technological cooperation, and most importantly, recognition of Earth and its solar system as a sovereign territory. "This is unprecedented," Zevnar said slowly. "The Concordium has never negotiated as equals with a non-member species. Yet here we are," Dr. Sharma replied with a small smile. "Consider it evolution, Chancellor, adaptation to changing circumstances." As the diplomatic discussions continued, Admiral Harper stood in Earth's primary defense command center, watching the status reports from throughout the solar system. General Zhang joined her, his augmented eye processing tactical data streams. "They'll try again," Zhang noted. "Perhaps not immediately, but the Concordium has ruled unopposed for too long to accept this outcome permanently." Harper nodded slowly. "And we'll be ready. But today, we've changed the equation. Today, the galaxy learned that humanity isn't just another species to be conquered." She turned to the massive display showing Earth, beautiful, blue, and now definitively protected. Today, they learned that they should have taken our warning seriously. The scouts at Mars were just the beginning. Zhang permitted himself a rare smile. "And the real army?" Harper's expression remained serious, but her eyes gleamed with fierce pride. "Still coming, still evolving, still becoming what we need to be." Throughout human space, the defensive systems remained vigilant. The enhanced soldiers returned to their duties. The fleets maintained their positions. And deep within classified research facilities, scientists continued working on technologies that would make even today's revelations seem primitive. Because humanity understood something the Concordium was only beginning to grasp. Survival meant never becoming complacent, never assuming superiority, and never underestimating an opponent. The real army wasn't just soldiers and ships. It was humanity's relentless drive to adapt, to overcome, to persist against any odds. And in that sense, it would always be arriving, always evolving, always becoming something new. The war had just begun. Not a war of conquest, but a struggle for a new galactic order, one where humanity would never again be underestimated.